Welcome to the Show Up and Blow Up podcast, of course, where we work with nutritionists, trainers, and anybody who's a coach who is working in person currently and wants to go online. And here, of course, every Wednesday, I'm going to be showing you and giving you extra tips and tricks on how to take your business from in person to online, save a little time, and make a lot more money. This is what we've been planning on for a while, right?
I know, we finally got started.
That's right. So once we get this thing rolling, I don't see you stopping. I don't see you. I mean, what you are getting ready to do is huge. So this is just kind of like the genesis to just push you on out there.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. I think whenever you open a new door, it's always like you open the first door and then there's 12 other doors behind that, and you have to figure out where do you go from there.
Right.
So this conversation, I think, will be super helpful to me and just so many people like me who are trying to figure out where do I go after I make the first move.
So what I want to get into is, first of all, what is it that Emily does? Like, what is she doing and where is she headed, basically?
Oh, that's a loaded question, but I'll break it down in the simplest way. So the main thing that I'm focused on is building self-awareness, right? Like, I have dealt with a lot of different things in my life. I've dealt with physical illness, mental illness, really interesting spiritual experiences, and just daily life is kind of stressful to be a human these days.
Right.
So when I break that down, I really started looking at what matters most. How do you navigate through any of these things? And what came up for me, and I think is probably true for others, is self-awareness. Right. And so my mission is really to spread self-awareness in whatever way I can. So when I break that out, I look at a few different ways. The first is teaching, right? And that's what we're ultimately doing with all of these awesome content platforms, is teaching in a really informal classroom setting, right? You're having conversations, and by having those conversations, you're really opening up dialogue for people to really start to reconfigure the way that they are on the inside. Right. So that's number one, teaching. Number two is speaking and hosting. So I'm at the very beginning of launching my own platform, which is called, right? Shout out.
That's right.
Shout out. And it's called Interviews with Emily Janney. That is a pun on interviews. Right. I've had a few people be like, is that spelled wrong? But it's interviews. And the purpose of that is really to look inside and figure out how can we look inside to change the world outside. And when I started that, I said, okay, I'm really scared to start this, so I'm going to start with what I know best, which is events. Right. Obviously, events are not sustainable for every week of the year. Events are a heavy lift. So what I'm really looking at is how do I take my platform that I've rolled out in an events format and turn that into a digital platform. Right. So that's piece number two, is interviews. And third is kind of a surprise project that came up, which is called Mind Body Magic Festival. And that's a festival that's happening here in Nashville. And we're pulling together the best of all the people in the wellness industry and really hoping to just have a big conversation about what does it mean to be well, and not green juice well, right? Not rich white girl well, who we see that a lot in the industry, but like holistic, wholesome well. What does it mean to be balanced and to be fulfilled and to have an open mind?
And that's what I love about Emily. So
I'm trying.
that all ties in, of course, to what not only I live by and what I try to teach my clients and any mentees that I work with. But it also ties into the thing that I care about the most, which is people's well-being. Right. Because the more people we have who are well, the less idiot shit going around, right? So this is something that really means a lot to me. And I know I can't reach everybody just simply because everyone has that avatar, right? There's an avatar. So for example, people may look at me and there's only about maybe 5 or 10 different avatars who can associate with me or can, embody what I,
absolutely
have to offer. Right. And then there's maybe 5 or 10 avatars who can look at you and go, okay, I can relate to her. And this is why I love what you're doing, because like you said, it's not just, rich white girl. This is for everybody. This is not just green juice wellness. This is for everybody, right?
And, it's so interesting because I think we've talked about this before. Like, we're kind of an unlikely pair. Like, I'm a random white girl and you're a black guy, And so how do we come at having the same conversation from a different angle? But yeah, I think you could look at someone like me, or you could look at someone like you, and you make a really quick judgment as to what your life experience is like. And, oftentimes those things just aren't true when you peel back the layers. And so I think ultimately, with self-awareness for me and with a lot of the work you're doing, I think we're teaching people how to peel back those layers.
Of course. And that's the biggest part, right? It's just, hey,
peeling that onion.
Whichever way you need, do you need her, you need me, or whoever, right? Because I'm sure we'll be in the future partnering with more people,
for sure,
helping more people, and each one teach one is kind of my motto.
Each one teach one. I like that. Right? Coming in with a rhyme this morning.
That's right. Bars. So, that's just kind of how I like to get into it, which is why I even started this actual, platform, and just to help people who are trying to do things like you, because I feel like we are so good at what we do, that we suck at trying to do everything else.
Oh, yes. It's so hard.
So, yeah, seriously. And it's a good thing and a bad thing. And the reason why I say it's a good thing is because one thing I teach a lot of my mentees is that you have to focus on what it is your superpower is, right? That one thing, that 5-10% of what you do well, that's all you should focus on. And then everything else, that's when you start getting other people around you who may be good at that to help you build, right? So Emily's great at people, you reach people I could never reach. I've seen you bring on doctors and just all type of like wellness people around the world, around the
I like to build communities.
Seriously. And you build one hell of a community.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You have been so good at that and facilitating it all. That I'm like, hey, why don't we just have her focus on just doing that? And then take it online. And take it and reach maybe a couple more million people, right?
Throwing some big numbers.
That's right. I'm a big thinker, right?
Me too.
I'm a big thinker, so I like these things to,
we got big visions.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I've always been told, if you reach for the stars and you fall short, where are you? You're still gonna be pretty high.
In the moon?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? Still gonna be pretty high. So it's just one of those things where I like that you knew that, by the way.
I did know that. I feel like I had a sign in my room, maybe in like 8th grade, that said that.
Yeah, reach for the stars.
We were destined for this moment.
Short, you land on the moon. So that's what I like to do, not just with myself, but with all of my mentees and anybody just watching who I try to, interact with on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I try to put the big thinker mentality, because we have always been taught to,
think small.
Live below your means, be realistic with your goals, and all of these things just kind of keep us short and small and confined in
narrowed.
This
narrow, right? Constricted.
Exactly. So my thing is, no, dream big. What do you really want?
Right.
Because those little be realistic, suggestions,
they don't get you very far.
They don't get you far. Because if you fall short of those, you're still in the same spot pretty much.
Right. So I guess that's a really good segue to my first big question for you.
Yeah.
I personally have a big picture. A lot of people who go out, they have a big vision, they have a big goal they're trying to reach. It's really easy to get hung up in that big vision and be like, okay, I know what my strengths are. If you're self-aware, you know what your strengths are, you know what the vision is, but you look outside and you're like, how am I supposed to make a decision? Because there's so many choices to make. Yeah. And that's what I'm struggling with right now. I've got to make some tough decisions after I get through this festival as to where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I have so many things on the table that I feel a little paralyzed.
Right.
I call it Jannalysis paralysis because my last name is Janney. So I get into a little Jannalysis paralysis.
Okay.
So can you walk me through how do I begin thinking about making my first big business decision?
Right. Okay. My biggest suggestion to you is going to be, one, start in a funnel. I like to operate in funnels. Okay. So we can go big and go narrow. We can go narrow, go big. But a funnel basically means, what is the biggest thing you can do right now, or the most profound thing you can do right now that'll impact everything you're trying to do?
Okay.
And I'll give you a great example of kind of what I'm getting at here. So I've been known as the vegan trainer for years, right? And as I got maybe 4 or 5 years into it, I started to realize I'm not reaching as many people as I think I can because I'm narrowing my audience, my niche, which niche is always great.
Right.
However, with me, I knew I had a bigger vision.
Right.
Because not only did I want to help you with nutrition and veganism, but I wanted to help you with your lifestyle / finances, because some people don't have enough money to even be able to afford their health.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when I thought, okay, so instead of focusing just on veganism and all the things surrounded by it, I'll go taste sweat instead of vegan trainer.
I see.
Build my brand. That way everything will fall under that.
Sits under you.
That's right.
And that makes sense with your like holistic well-being approach, right? Because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I cover it all.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So that makes sense. So you start with the funnel.
Yes. Start with the funnel, and we call it top of the line or top of the funnel, which is usually going to be Emily.
Okay.
Right? Because we want to know, who the heck are we working with, right?
Right. Like, I don't even have a funnel yet. So like, can we back up? What's my funnel? So I'm at the top of the funnel.
So top of the funnel basically is anything someone is going to land on.
Okay.
So if I Google Emily, who pulls up, right?
Who am I?
Who are you?
Okay.
Right?
That's a deep question.
Seriously, right? So that's why I start with anybody who I work with, as far as my mentees or anything. When we're trying to grow, the first place we start, of course, is social media.
Right.
Because not only is this what we call social proof, but it's like a resume.
Right. And you were the first one that introduced that concept to me. And that made me think about it a little bit differently.
So if your resume is pretty nice, right? Because now this is a life resume. This is not just what have you done, who have you worked with. This is a life resume. And now we're looking at, okay, what does she do for fun? That's where Instagram stories comes in, right?
Right.
What does she eat?
Right.
Because are you trying to teach us to be well, but you're eating crap?
Right.
Right. So now they can see inside as much as you want them to, right?
Right.
Inside your life, and kind of, I hate to use this, but judge you.
Yeah.
And it can be a good thing, right?
Right.
Judging can be good or bad.
Do I resonate?
That's right.
With this person.
Do I resonate with this person?
Okay.
And that's where the top of the funnel goes. That's where you start. Because if we search Emily and anything you're touching, it needs to go to a person.
Got it.
Because the days of hiding behind a brand like a Walmart or hiding behind a Amazon, it's no longer Amazon. People go directly to Jeff Bezos.
Right.
Right.
We're more accountable.
Exactly. Seriously.
Right. Okay.
So you can't hide behind a festival anymore. They want to know who's running the festival. They want to know who. See?
Yeah, I'm getting stressed. I'm like, okay, I'm getting hot.
Exactly. So people really want to know, and it's just because they want a personal connection.
Yes.
They want an idol. They want someone who they can say, I can see myself hanging out with that, with Emily. She seems so cool.
Right.
So because she's so cool and she's offering something that is helpful, why not see what else she has
where
to
this
offer,
can go.
or where it can go. Exactly.
Right. Okay.
So that's your top of the line.
Okay.
Start there. I like to focus on one thing. So you can start on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and then eventually we'll start getting to other things, right?
Okay. But so you start with just one.
Start with one.
Start with one, do that well, and then you kind of expand outwards from there.
Absolutely.
So if I'm creating content, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers are looking to do, or they're, trying to do something in that capacity, I don't think, okay, how can I create content for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter? I'm more so like, how can I create
Focus on one.
really great content for Instagram right now?
Okay. And the reason why I teach this is because I could give you something that's so grand that it becomes intimidating, right? And
For
you're like,
sure.
I don't want to do any of it.
That's where I'm at, because I'm looking at all of it and I'm like, I don't want to do any of this.
So we take, and this is not very vegan of me, so I'm going to apologize, but there's a saying that's so great that I love, and it says, hey, how do you eat an elephant?
Oh my gosh.
One bite at a time.
Wow, right, absolutely.
So you have this huge overlook of all this stuff you have to do, but the only way you're going to accomplish it is one step.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
And it's going to take a long time to eat that elephant.
That's right, seriously. But this is just how it works. And that's the thing where we say, hey, if you just start on Instagram, post by post, caption by caption, start very small, it's easy. It's like, oh, I just have to make one post, one caption, one, group of hashtags.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Right?
This is feeling a little more manageable.
Right.
Okay.
And then you just go from there. And then, of course, once you get going and that becomes easy, like I got this in my bag. This is easy, right? Then you start adding different things. And the next step could be something simple where we call it repurpose. So you just repurpose that same content
and put it on a different
there
platform.
you go. So it's good for Instagram. It's good for Facebook. You can also put that same 60-second, if it's a video, on YouTube.
Okay.
You can also shrink it down to a 1 minute, voice and put it on podcast or something like that. So now you just reached 5 different
tons of
platforms,
people.
Right?
Okay.
That's how we get going.
So a recap for myself. Start with the top of the funnel, which is me.
Right.
And we're looking at the holistic version of me. And so we do that at kind of a big picture level. But in my action steps, I'm taking a really small actionable step.
There you go.
And starting with one platform.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So my next question, we're sitting here with all your gear and your equipment, and you turn into the actual execution steps.
Right.
How do I know what to do? How do I know who do I need to hire? What's most important? What kind of equipment do I need? All of that kind of stuff, the action steps.
That's a good question. Because most people get into this perfect world. Like everything has to be flawless.
Yes.
And, the colors have to look great. And, my video quality has to be, you don't have to get into that. And the reason why I never suggest even focusing on that yet.
You're shaking your head.
Seriously, like I never focus on that because we want to start literally at the bottom.
Okay.
And that is also including, how does a video look at the bottom? How shaky are you on video at the bottom? Right. Why is this important?
Okay.
Because your audience is going to walk this journey with you.
Oh, I
and
see.
I have people who have been with me for years, and they can literally, everybody would tell you, man, you have improved over time.
Oh my
Everything
gosh.
you've done, I've seen improvement, which means not only are you speaking something of truth,
right,
and you believe in what you're doing, but you also know what you're doing because I've seen it.
You've seen it play out.
Yeah, seriously, I've seen it play out. So this is what you want to take your audience through. It's like a storybook. You want to take them through this story.
Here's the journey.
Here's my transformation.
And that's like a check mark next to your authenticity in a way. It's like a built-in authenticity check of like, here's me, and like watch me as I move through the course of my own evolving.
Because I've seen so many, and I wouldn't say this is you, absolutely, but I've seen so many, especially women, they want to be, I have to get my makeup together,
For sure.
and my hair needs to look great, and it's like, no.
Right.
Why do I say no? Because you are building a brand literally where people are going to see you out in person.
Right.
And you're not always going to be made up.
For sure.
You're not always going to look like that. And that cuts away from your authentic. It makes you look less authentic all around.
Right.
Because they're like, what are you hiding?
Right?
Subconsciously.
Yeah,
people think
totally.
That.
I mean, it's a total judgment thing, especially when you've got people moving in one of two directions in the world. At least from my perspective, they're either moving in the cover it up, fake, I'm trying really hard to not acknowledge what's really going on route. Right. Or you've got the other people who are like, I'm really turned off by those people and I need to go the other way.
Right.
And there's not a lot of middle ground there, at least from what I'm seeing. So I've never thought about that with respect to my own presentation of content. But I will say, I try to be really careful. Like I always something innately deep in me, if I go to put like a filter on me or something, it's like, it just doesn't feel right, you know? And you can look, I notice this a lot, but you can look on Instagram stories or whatever it is, and you can tell when a woman or a male is presenting, and you can literally feel that they're taking the video because they think they look pretty.
There you go.
And it's like, immediately you're just like, I'm not interested in what you're saying anymore because the real reason you're here is because you're having a good hair day.
That's right.
And you want us all to see it.
That's right.
So you created content to make us see it.
There you go. There you
right?
go. Yep. And this is one of the things that grinds my gears, I guess you can say, because I see it so much.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, the IG booty models,
oh no,
they get up and then they flash their butt and then they give you this deep ass, when I was a child, I was always taught that you gotta love your,
right?
And it's like, hey, that has nothing to do about your butt being on.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I didn't realize they were like technically called IG booty models, but like for sure that's happening.
That's what we call them because that's all they're good for right now, right?
Right.
And it's not to say that these people don't have substance, but this is how they are. This is what they're portraying themselves to be.
Right.
And when you put that type of image up, which once again, Same thing. Image is everything.
Right.
Right. And when you put that type of image up that just says, hey, I just want you to see this. Don't worry about anything else I have to offer.
Right.
Right. Don't worry about how smart I am. Don't worry about what I have to offer as far as a product or service.
Yep.
You're just here for the butt. So I'll keep posting that.
And I'm sure that becomes like a negative feedback cycle. Yes. Like people are like, I'm not going to post real content because people aren't liking it as much.
Yes.
Is that happening?
That's exactly a thing. And it's very deep because a lot of, scientists and research has been coming out about the psychological reaction we get when we see a like. Or how many it's
oh my gosh, what is it saying?
So basically what it's saying right now is that you get a dopamine response or hormonal response, almost like eating sugar or almost like getting a hug or receiving a kiss.
Right.
It's that deep to where if you don't see those likes, you feel like you didn't get the hug, you didn't get the kiss, and then you get depressed.
Oh my gosh.
So a lot of people are chasing.
I'm feeling shook.
There you go. Yeah, seriously though. Like a lot of people are chasing this, this hormonal, because hormones are like very powerful, right? This is how sugar addiction starts and how drug addiction starts. And people don't realize that social media is a drug. And you have to know how to operate this drug, right?
Okay, so that brings me to my next question, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm starting from the bottom. Mm-hmm. I'm keeping it simple, trying to be the most authentic version of myself. Right. How do I manage myself amidst this entire dynamic, right? So like I personally am very sensitive. Right. Like I'm very sensitive. I can feel a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of women are like that and increasingly a lot of people in the world. So how do I manage this process? Like, how do I prevent myself from falling into that trap that we just talked about? And also, how do I manage all of the influx of feedback and opinions and all of that stimuli? What's your strategy?
That's a very important thing to talk about because there are a lot of a-holes online, first of all.
For sure.
And you're going to get some comments that you don't like. Right. I ignore those. I just swipe. I used to comment back and I'd battle with you, but now I just swipe out. And I tell people just ignore. Delete.
Okay.
Don't even pay them any attention.
You delete the comments.
Yes, I delete the comment.
Okay.
Because we don't want, negativity attracts negativity.
I see.
So if someone sees a negative comment, they go, I'm going to get in too. Right. And then you have, little Bobby who's 15 at home talking crap on his mom's, couch.
Damn little Bobby.
Right, there we go. So we just exit little Bobby out of there.
We need little Bobby's mom involved.
There we go.
That's a different conversation.
We just exit him out, right? So I usually don't pay attention to the negative comments, one.
Okay.
Number two, when it comes to the likes and how many likes you get, that does, I would say for most people, it does have something to do with, how well you're feeling that day until you get to what is the actual goal. And the actual goal for us, number one is, we have bills, right? So you're not really worried about the likes. We're worried about how much money you're making.
Right.
Can you show up every day and serve knowing that I don't have a worry or care about my bills right now because that's taken care of?
I see.
And now I can serve you to my best ability.
Right.
So I say, and I get this from one of the best people I've ever seen talk about this, Danielle Leslie. She says, likes don't buy.
Oh, I see.
And it's true because if I ever put something up on Instagram or Facebook, YouTube, and I say, hey, go to this place to, get my $25 program or whatever it is, right? Even if it's free, I'm trying to either get you to buy or help you. Mm-hmm. And likes won't help you or get you to buy.
Right. They're not really even real.
They're not real. Yeah.
They're not
real.
So
it's this fabricated thing that we just made up.
Right.
And now we're taking it to heart.
Whereas like followers, if you go back to the resume concept, like the followers matter more in a sense because it's a stamp of this is how many eyes I have, which may or may not also matter at the end of the day. But, when you're looking at someone's resume, you're like, oh, wow, he's got a big audience. Right. But you're not really judging how many likes your content got, right? So it's like almost an invisible thing.
Almost. And this is why, for a while, and whoever sees this in the future, maybe they did it or maybe they didn't. But Instagram is flirting with taking likes off.
Really?
Anyway. Yeah, that's a new thing that they've been flirting with. And I want to say they've kind of released it in Canada, already. I
Oh,
want to say, don't hold me to that, but I
yeah.
know that they've been flirting with the idea of erasing the likes, so you can't even see how many likes a post gets.
Wow. What
Yeah.
about comments?
Now, of course, they would keep the comments, and
Right.
as they should, because
Yeah.
you need to know, of
Like
course, how to end
engage.
it. Right. That's how you
Right.
engage. That's what makes it a social platform.
For
Right.
sure.
So, and just to be honest, there's a lot of fake. There's like robot likes and things like that that people are using, and
Right.
it's just stupid, to be honest. So I usually don't focus on that, first of all, because most people don't realize that the engagement on Instagram is dropping anyway.
Right. Is that
Basically,
okay?
and it's for a reason.
Okay.
This has happened on Facebook already. You probably noticed, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you got on Facebook, you would post something, and about 10% of your following would like it, maybe even
For
more,
sure.
right? And you go,
The happy birthdays. Remember
right.
how big that used
So
to
many
be? It's
people,
gone.
yeah, it's gone.
Now
Right?
I get like 5.
There you go.
I'm like, thanks,
And it's
guys.
because there are so many people coming into Facebook and Instagram who are advertising, paid advertisements, that now the organic engagement is dropping lower and
okay.
lower. And this is happening with Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube, because the more, of course, we can get for you to pay to reach people, the less
Right.
I'll give it to you for free.
Right.
It's a brilliant business model on Mark Zuckerberg's part.
For sure.
But of course, most people don't know this. So they're
Right.
going in and they're trying to create this beautiful content. Once again, don't worry about how beautiful it is right now. You got, because that stuff costs money, first of all.
For sure.
And it takes time. So you have to build your business first. Once you have enough money, then you put money back into it. Once again, this
Right.
shows growth.
Right.
But most people are trying to get this content at the beginning, hoping to get viral content, right? And it doesn't really work.
So you're saying it's more about consistency,
Yes.
doing it, learning the micro lessons day to day, and then reinvesting once you build the bandwidth to even be able to do that.
There you go.
So, okay, so turning it to more of a money topic, you've done a really good job of building a lot of different revenue streams and thinking about, how do I do this in a way that's, we've talked about it in the past of being like, I'm going to build followers, but at the same time, I want to be able to convert people so that I'm actually creating tangible value. So, what is your advice for someone like me or anyone listening? If we're at the very beginning, what are some options for a great first conversion? What are the options on the table?
So when anyone's starting out, and I don't care how, what part of the start you're in, if you just started a month ago, a year ago, or 2 years ago, you want to exhaust your organic audience.
Okay.
So basically what that means is mom, dad, aunt, cousin, sister, whoever you can reach in your phone, right? Contacts in your phone.
Okay.
You want to try to get everyone who has engaged with you organically on your Instagram, Facebook, whatever else whatever you're focusing on. You want to pretty much just use as many organic touch points that you have already, because these people know, like, and trust you already.
Right. They're gonna like your Instagram because you're out there doing it, and they know that the rest of your life's falling apart. So we're gonna throw her a like.
Yep. So when it comes to buying or someone buying from you, that is the number one thing. Know, like, and trust. That's the factors.
Got it.
If they don't know you, they won't buy. If they don't like you, they won't buy. If they don't trust you, they definitely will not buy, right?
I feel like I need to wake up every morning and be like, no, like, and
no,
trust.
Like, and trust.
No, like, and trust.
No, like, and trust. So those are the three.
It's my mantra now.
And I'm not the only one saying this. This is something you will hear a lot of people online say, because those are the three keys.
No,
like, and trust. And the only way to know, like, and trust someone is to, of course, know, who are they? Okay, Instagram showed me that. I know them, right? Like content. Do I like their content? Trust.
Right.
How much has this person been here? Like, how long have they been here? How much content do they put out? This is why I also suggest live streams, which I know you may not be a fan of yet.
No,
okay, good.
I've been thinking about it.
Okay, good, because the live streams create that trust factor.
Okay.
Because it's like having a conversation.
Right.
I can eye contact you. I can, I can be in your space without having to be there with you.
Right.
That builds trust.
Okay.
So know, like, and trust. If you do those three things with the content and then the likes, or with the live streams, you'll be great. Know, like, and trust will grow fast. So you exhaust your immediate,
circle
contacts. And then once you get those, you don't, and I tell everybody, you never spend 100% of your money. right?
Okay.
So if your immediate contacts, support you and they went ahead and bought in, if you will, you take some of that money. I would actually suggest all of it, and then you start putting it back, because this is a stair-stepping game, one foot in front of the other, right?
Okay.
So you exhaust your, immediate circle by getting those people to support you financially. You take that money and then you put it into the business, whether it's Instagram or Coach or whatever it is.
It literally looks like you're on a stair climber.
That's right. So yeah,
getting a mental workout here. Right.
That's how it works, and most people don't understand it, because the average person who comes to me, they make money, they spend it all. They make the money, they spend it all.
Right.
And people don't like for me to say this, but that just means sometimes you can't live the life that you thought you could live, right?
Right.
Maybe you have to get a roommate. Maybe you have to drive the hoopty instead of the Mercedes.
Sure. Right.
Maybe you have to, cut back on how much you eat. This is where I'm a big fan of fasting, right? Because fasting is great for health, and it's also pretty good for saving money.
So you have to be dynamic with the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So what about, okay, I get that. Mm-hmm. So what should I be focusing on? Here's a question I'm really thinking about. Should I be focusing on creating content and focusing there?
Right.
Or should I be focused on having, I need something to convert people to, right? So do I need to have a course? Do I need to have a webinar series people can go to? Do I need to have a Facebook group where I'm doing trainings? Do I need to be doing both of those at the same time? Or do I start with the content and then develop, something I can sell?
Initially, this is a great question, because most people are having these same questions. Initially, you want to deliver content with the promise to deliver more content later. Okay. Now, later can be another Instagram post, or it can be in your email. This is where you start growing your email list.
Okay.
Right? So you want to grow your email list and email your list, right?
Okay.
Just helpful content.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the point, and this is one of my favorite things that I teach in my course, when you get to a point where, okay, I'm ready to actually come up with a course or provide something for people, right? To deliver that information or deliver that help. I'm not a big fan of building that out first.
Okay.
Do not build out your program or your course or whatever it is first. Don't build it out first.
Okay.
Why? Well, you want to have input from people you're serving, right?
Right.
So you can totally spend 10 weeks, because I've seen people take that long, 10 months, I've seen people take that long, or 10 years. I don't know if I've seen anybody take that long. But seriously, people want to make things so perfect that they just keep pushing it back.
I see.
And you could take all of that time in building this perfect program, and then nobody likes it.
Right.
Right.
So your market research is your content creation.
There you go. This is when you get into people who say things like beta launch. You ever heard that? Like, oh, this is a beta launch.
Yeah.
This is the beta version of it. I'm going to take in my first 10, 20, 30, 100 people, depending on what your audience looks like. I'm going to take in my first 10, 20 people, and you all are going to go through the course launch with me, and you're going to give me feedback on what you want to see, what you need help with.
Right.
And this builds a perfect program based on what the end consumer wants, not what you want.
Okay. So I think I've got a roadmap here. We've talked about the funnel. We've talked about how, to manage the whole process of creating to begin with social media and our own self-worth and all of those types of things. So say I'm going to start and I'm going to focus on my content creation.
Right.
And I'm going to really use that to understand the market. I'm going to use that to build consistency, to work on driving out a need for perfection deep in my soul.
There we go.
So I'm going to work on all of those things. Now, is there time in the day, in your experience, how much time does this take? Because, some of it's hard. Some of there's a big learning curve, right? Creating one video sometimes can take a lot of time.
Hours.
Yeah. So is there time, for someone like me, I'm interested in starting to do public speaking as a quicker way to build revenue, right? I'm confident that I can do that. So can I do both of those things together, or is that crazy? How much time does this take?
So this is where you get into what we call time inventory.
Okay.
And it's very, very crucial for you to start inventorying your time.
Okay.
Because I've heard some of the easiest jobs or workers tell me, oh, I'm just so busy, right?
Right.
And you're mentioning that to someone who's working with thousands of people. And I'm telling myself, like, how could you be more busier than I am? You work 8 hours and you go home.
Right.
My job goes with me everywhere I go.
Like you're
and
always working.
I'm always working, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be busier than I am, right?
Right.
But everybody in this world is busy. So
For
what
sure.
you have to start to do is realize, first of all, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. And what you have to do is start inventorying that 24 hours.
Okay.
Okay. And this looks like basically every hour on the hour, I will literally mark what I have to do.
Okay.
So right now we can look at this phone and you'll go into my calendar and you will see every hour of today has something on it.
Okay.
Like every hour, even if it's, take a shower, read a book, eat.
Like you've got a full schedule.
Full schedule.
Okay.
And this helps me because, for one, almost similar to, and my trainers would definitely understand what I'm going with this. Similar to how when we're eating a bag of potato chips, you initially go into the potato chips.
Oh no.
And you just want to eat a few, right?
I know where this is going.
But if you don't have a cutoff point,
yep,
you look down into the bag and the bag is empty.
It's empty.
Right?
Yep.
Well, this is how it works with time. If you don't look at your time like a bag of potato chips and inventory how much you actually want to spend on showering or eating, TV time, if you don't inventory that, it'll spill over into more time.
It's so true.
And it happens, right? It happens a lot because, everybody has a TV show we want to watch or a movie or, so I'm not, it's fine. You can watch TV. But we usually get sucked into that couch time or the bed time, wherever you are watching TV, and one Netflix show turns into 6, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, actually not for me because I really don't watch a lot of TV.
Right.
I have a horse and, the same thing happens out there though, right?
Yeah.
Like she's hurt right now and I go out and I'm like, okay, I've got to change her bandages. And then I end up there for 2 hours because other things need to get done. And, that's an animal. That's like a living thing. So that's a little different. But yeah, it totally happens no matter where you use your free time.
That's right. That's right.
Your kids, helping them with their homework, I'm sure,
Yep.
So then do you find yourself having to make sacrifices when it comes to like, okay, I've got an hour to say work on my marketing strategy. Right. And then you hit that hour point and you're like, okay, I didn't get as much done. Do you still stick to that and say, all right, well, I'm moving on. I've got to go do these other things.
Now, short answer is yes.
Okay.
You didn't get finished. Set another calendar reminder for tomorrow or even later in the day when you have more spare time, right?
Okay.
But what I've noticed, and there's a book, and I can't think of the author's name, but it's a book called Deep Work. And Deep Work basically says that when we focus on one task at a time, literally turn the phone over.
I know.
No text messages, no emails coming in. Just focus on the deep work, the work that you have to do. It usually doesn't take you not even half the amount of time as it normally would.
Wow.
So if you're working on a funnel or email or whatever it is, you usually can finish it way quicker because you only focus on that one thing.
You're only in that.
Yep. So we go deep on all of our work, basically.
Right.
Just think about it. How much time would it take for me to get this podcast done if I pick up my phone and I'm texting and I'm like, hold on, give me a minute,
of time.
right? It takes a lot of time.
And you're so scattered.
And then I'm scattered, right?
Yeah, and we're all so scattered.
Exactly.
I noticed that working on projects with people, it's like people cannot hold a normal conversation anymore. The attention span.
Attention span is this.
And, I feel really lucky because from a young child, like I could study for like 8 hours straight.
You're one of the lucky ones.
I just have that ability to just stay hyper focused, which has its own challenges, right? That has its own challenges. But I feel myself being pulled out of that more easily. And so I feel like I'm being pulled onto the path. And I notice it in other meetings with other people of okay, I still want to keep going, but everyone else has hit the threshold.
Yep. Makes sense.
And we all have our things that come easily to us, but it's definitely a massive challenge, especially with teams and working with other people.
Yep.
So, okay, so what do you do? What's your game plan? What do you do when you're trying to figure out how much time do I spend in work-life balance? Work-life balance, does that really exist? I'm not sure, but how do you budget family time? Do you budget?
So work-life balance is something that, as an entrepreneur, I had never really been a fan of.
Okay.
And I will say this, because when you are an entrepreneur, you are in charge. You're responsible for everything. So if entrepreneurship or your business fails, your family failed.
For sure.
Right? So a lot of times I never really focus on trying to balance all three, but there is a fine line of just ignoring everything else as well, right?
Totally.
So I go hard at my business. I do what I have to do. I throw everything I can at it. And then, of course, once we get that accomplished, then I go ahead and say, hey, I can at least give an hour for my wife, 2 hours for my wife, at night. There's always cutoff time. So you can have a cutoff time. So for example, my cutoff time for phone time is 8:30. Okay. 8:30 p.m. That's a great time. My wife and I can have a couple hours of just kicking it and hanging out, whether that's watching TV or just, cooking, looking at each other, whatever it is, right? We can do that.
Looking at each other.
You never know, right? So
staring
whatever,
deeply into
that's
your
right.
eyes.
Whatever you want to do, whatever that looks like for you, you can do that. So
the deep work with the wife.
The deep work with the wife, right? So that's towards the end of the day, and then towards the beginning of the day, I always give myself an hour for working out.
Okay.
Right. So I've taken care of my health, my family. Okay. If you got kids, you can also put that in with the wife, or maybe you go an hour with kids and wife, and then an hour after the kids are down with wife or husband, whoever you are.
I'm chronically single right now, so it's like hour with the horse.
There you go. Hour with the horse.
My girl.
Totally fine. So this is how it works. You just want to make sure you're inventorying that time and keeping it going, right? And as long as you're inventorying your time and also trying to fit in those other things, because it is possible, right? Yeah. Fit in those other things, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. Okay. Right? And I feel like, that was probably the best thing to end on, because this is the number one thing people are having an issue
with. For sure.
So if you can get the time part down, other stuff will start to come on its own.
That makes total sense to me. Yeah. Okay.
Good. So
I think we covered it all.
That's right.
I've got some good action steps.
Good. So before we leave, of course, let everybody know, where can they find Emily?
Absolutely. So my name is Emily Janney. I'm on Instagram at Emily Janney. That's EMILY JANNEY. Okay. And Instagram's my first platform. So find me there.
Smart. I love it. See, she's already listening.
I'm on it.
There we go. So, okay, of course, go follow Emily and show her some love. As always, you know how we do it here. We show love. Right?
Absolutely.
We show love because we're a big community. And as well as being a community, just like I told you, you should always be growing your email list to interact with other people. It's the same thing I'm doing now. You can go below this video. There will be an email opt-in, if you will. Click the opt-in, go in and join the community, because I will be kicking out lots of good information over the next few days about how you can grow your Instagram, how you can grow your community, and how you can make a bigger impact on your life and everybody else's life. So thanks for coming out, Emily. Thanks for coming out as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep this thing rolling.